is you require some applications. Let's say you are sending some request. You are sending some request to the server. You are sending some request to the server. When you're sending the request to the server, and in order to generate the response, your server has to connect the system. It has to connect to the database. Let's say the system, it has to connect to the database, and then it has to pull the required information and then create the response. So it has to connect to the database, and then it has to pull the required information. This is how it works. It should connect to this database, and then it should pull the required response. Once the response is ready, then it can send the response back to the client. It can send the response back to the client. So this is what required. So the bottom line is, if you want to do some processing on the server side, then you require web applications. Directly, it is like,
Hi, hello.
yes,
Can I have a question?
yes.
So you mentioned the static page. So we are having some HTML pages. In case in that HTML page I have some JavaScript there, then will it be considered as a static page or dynamic page?
Like that comes under, and whatever Java code you are writing, it will come under static only. So because you don't require any application. So that is
Okay.
under uh, HTML. You have got two things: static and the dynamic. So if you are adding any scripting stuff,
Oh.
then under HTML it is called as dynamic. Over here, what we are discussing is server-side components.
Okay.
This processing is
Okay.
done on the server side. So if you write the JavaScript in the HTML
Mm,
page, that is again called
mm.
as client-side scripting. So you don't require any assistance from the web
Oh,
server to do
that
that.
is called client side. Okay. 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 So
So
that will be executed in the client itself.
yes, client on the client side it will
So
be executing. You need not
so
connect to
that
the
is still
server.
called a static page. Is it still called a static page?
No. It is called as dynamic HTML. Adding dynamic functionality
Mm,
to the web page. That is
HTML.
used for
Okay.
doing client-side scripting. That is called as client-side,
Okay.
not server-side scripting. So under
Okay.
HTML,
Okay.
you can classify it as static, and then the XHTML, what you call it as dynamic HTML.
Okay.
So that will come under client side itself.
Okay. Thank you.
So if you need to connect to the server and then pull some information, let's say you have to enter your hall ticket number. Once you enter the hall ticket number, then the web component, it should connect to the database and it should pull your details. After it pulls the detail, it should send the response to the user. So this is called as a dynamic. That is based on the user request, you are generating the response. You cannot generate the same response for all the users. We cannot generate the same response for all the users. Let's say you have entered your hall ticket number as 100, then based on that, it should connect to the database, pull the details for the candidate with the roll number 100 or registration number 100, and then create the response out of that, and it has to send the response back to the client. So if some processing has to be done, then you require web applications. Then you require web application. Web application, it can support both static as well as dynamic. So any dynamic functionality to be added to the web page, you need to develop web application, because your web server, it can only support static pages, but you require any dynamic functionality that is based on the user request. If the data has to be generated, then you have to go with the dynamic web page. Now I have a question. Uh, Now let's say, okay, you are having a university application wherein you are having, let's say, 10,000 users you have, 10,000 admissions you have and system. So if you have to generate the web results for them, then are you going to create 1,000 to 10,000 pages, or you will only create one page and modify it based on the user request? So how many pages you will create for displaying their scorecard? How many HTML pages you will create? 100 or sorry, 10,000, or you will just create only one?
Yeah, sorry, could you please repeat your question? It was not
Let's
clear
say
for
you are
me.
developing an application for the university, wherein you have to
Uh-huh.
display the results. The number of students we have in the university is from 1 to 10,000. So you have to display the results. So you be creating one page for each student, or based on the user request, you will create uh, based on the user request, you will generate the data accordingly.
Generate the data accordingly based on the for whichever student we need the information.
Okay, Hassan, any input?
Yes, it needs a student ID.
Yeah,
It
correct.
takes a student
Generate
ID as
data.
input. Yeah. Yeah.
Correct. Perfect. Now, so what you require is, let me take. Now, you require first, what you need to do is you require a web page that is for the client side. You should provide a button to enter the data, and then okay, you need to provide a submit button. Once you do this, then your request will go to the server, and then from here, you have got two things, and then from here you have to keep some components that we shall be discussing. You require some component, and this component, as we said, they should connect to the database, because you don't have the forms, you don't have the web pages, and they should connect to the database. Once it connects with the database, sorry, you have this, it should connect to the database. And once this application connects to the database, it is obvious it will generate the result in the tabular format. Let's say the result has been generated. Now, it should generate the result in the tabular format. Okay, let us disable. Let's say this is some XYZ result that is generated in the tabular format. So once this result has been generated, so where it is gone. So once this result has been generated, So once this result has been generated, this result it has to send back to the client. It should send this result back to the client. Now, in order to do this, what you have is this is how it works. First, you have a web page where the user will enter some data. Then this request will go to the server. Within the server, you have got web container. Web container, in order to execute servlets and JSP, it has got something called servlet engine and the JSP engine. Now, first the request will hit the server, then the request will hit the web container. Then based on that, the container will create two objects. One is request, the other one is response. Your request will carry the data from client to the server, whereas the response object will carry the data from server to the client. I repeat, once the request comes for a particular resource, the container it creates two objects. One is request, the other one is response. Your request object will carry the data from client to the server, whereas response object will carry the data from the server to the client. So when then it will invoke the servlet. It will invoke this servlet. So then it will call the service method. Service method is used for servicing the client, and this service method will have access. If you see this, it is having access to this request and then this response object. So it will retrieve the data. In order to retrieve the data, you have got a method called request.getParameter of user. And if you want to retrieve the second parameter, you have got a method called request.getParameter of password. Is this clear? Is the life
Yes,
cycle?
it is clear. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let us write the code rather than using user and password. We'll be going with uh, the memo stuff. And this one, click on the web application. In order to start, you can download NetBeans or Eclipse from the web. Click on the new project. Under category, select Java Web, and then you need to select web application. Then you select next. Then I'm just giving it as marks. Click next, and then click next. So you need to be a bit familiar with HTML. So let me go to this index.html. So if you're familiar with the HTML, well and good. Otherwise, you can take help of the GUI. Click web IDE tools, and then okay, you can click on this palette. And then if you click over here, you get all HTML forms over here. Let me drag and drop it. So when you are clicking onto the web, sorry, when you're clicking on the web button, your request should go to this mark servlet. The request should go to the mark servlet. And then okay, you require two fields over here. One is text input to enter the hall ticket number. Hall ticket, I think spelling mistake, I'm writing hall ticket. And then you require one more submit button. That is when you hit into the submit button, this request it will go to this mark servlet. That is processing will be done by this mark servlet. And I click onto the submit button. So let me close this stuff. Now, next what you have to do is, this is the structure of your web application. Under web pages, you will store all HTML and JSP pages. So as of now, we are working with HTML page. And then under source package, you will write all your web components. Now, there are various web components that are available to do the server-side processing. The first web component what we are using is servlet. So if you have to create a servlet, click on new and then you can click on other. Once you click on the other, you can go to the web under the categories and select servlet as the file type. Then you click next. The name what we have given over there is Marks servlet. So you need to give the same name, and we will put it in a package called controller. Why we are calling this as controller, we will discuss that later. And as of now, just select this add information to web.xml and then click finish. You will get this. This is directly generated by the NetBeans. This is the template for the servlet. As of now, what we will do is we'll delete all this stuff. Now, when you are writing the code for the servlet, it will extend HTTP servlet class. Whenever we are writing the code for the servlet, it extends HTTP's class. This HTTP servlet, if you check, navigate, go to source. If you want to see the source code, you can do this way. Navigate and go to source code. Now it has got various methods. Do get, do last, modified. That has got various methods. But most of the time, okay, you will be overriding either this do get or you will be overriding this do post. Your logic, you will either override it in do get or you will override it in do post. So you have to override any one of these methods, either do get or do post. So what you are doing is you will be overriding as of now do get. Now the purpose of do get or do post method is because it is used for providing the service to the client. Over here you will write your business logic. Now our business logic is to retrieve the memo, sorry, to retrieve the hall ticket number and then connect to the database, and then you need to print the results. So request dot get parameter of hall ticket. So now let me close this. Now once you retrieve this hall ticket number, where is this? What happened? Okay, you have got this. Let me float. Now the next what you do is you just have to print this. So in order to print, you'll take help of print writer out is equal to response.getWriter. This is equivalent to your system.out.println. Out.println, you are printing your hall ticket number. As of now, we are not printing the results, we are just printing the hall ticket number. We will print the results as well. Hall ticket number is HTN. This is the simple servlet what we are writing. Now let us just check. Okay, this and this is same. Now over here, this one, this marks servlet and this both should be same. And this hall ticket number, it should map with this one. This hall ticket number, it should map with this. So whatever value you are entering into the field, it will be retrieved by this. Placeholder is equal to hall ticket.
Oh, what is that? What is the placeholder?
1 minute, you will just understand it after you see.
Okay. Okay.
So let me close this and then run the web application. If you want to run this web application, right click and then say that.
uh,
Uh, Are you people familiar with JDBC? JDBC in the sense minimum SQL statements.
JDBC? JDBC?
It's
Hello?
connecting to the databases.
Yeah, usually like that connecting mechanism, I just get it from the internet and I just put it. But yeah, basically retrieving it. I was doing test automation, so I used to retrieve the data from the database, Oracle database, and comparing it with the UI results or something like that. I have used it, yes.
Uh, Hassan, are you familiar with that? So you're sending the request? Okay, fine. So you're sending the request and then you're pulling the data. But actually what we want is when you're connecting to the servlet, this is what we need.
Hi, sorry, just out of curiosity, that print statement, how did println it printed it in on the browser itself? I thought, oh, it was not to the console.
No, no, no. System.out.println will print it into the console. So if you observe this figure, let me just modify this. What are you doing is you've got response object. You're requesting this response object to give you a print writer.
Okay, okay.
You're
Let me
requesting
route it to
this
the response.
response object to give you a print writer object.
Okay.
So you are writing your data. So you're requesting the response object to give you a print writer object.
Okay.
So your response is dependent on this. So once you get this, you start writing to this. But when you're writing to this, the code is actually written to this. With the help of print writer, this is the circle, this is the cycle what is happening. So you have requested the print writer object. So you have requested this print writer object and you are writing out.println. So if you are writing out.println, this in turn will not write the data to this. It will write it to the response.
Okay.
So over here what you are writing is I. So whatever you're writing, it will move to the print writer object. With the help of print writer object, it will move to the response. Then this is the response that will be sent to the client. As we said, request is for carrying the data from client to the server, whereas response is for carrying the data from server to the client. Any response that is sent from the server to the client will be carried in the response object. So print route writer, response that get writer you're writing, and then
Okay.
so you can just explore this method, navigate, and then go to source. So you've got this print writer, get writer. This is an interface, and then print writer or get writer. So this will help you write the response to the send the response to the client. And if you observe it as an interface. Now, next moving forward, what you require is you need to now rather than just printing this dummy output, what you expect is you expect your program to connect to the database. So whichever database you have installed on your system, you can connect to that database. Whichever database you have installed on the system, you can connect to the database. So can you just let me know, Zahid and Hassan, which database you are familiar with? I know Bhuvan is familiar with the Oracle.
Yeah.
Zahid, which database you are familiar with? Okay, MySQL, Hassan. MySQL and SQL Server. So anyway, I don't have MySQL and SQL Server installed on my system. Let me check what do I have. So I've got Derby and the Oracle. So I'll be doing on the Derby. You can either go on Oracle or you can go on Derby or you can go on MySQL Server. Choice is yours. So let me just delete this.
Sorry,
Now,
is this
how
some
to
built-in database?
Derby? Yes, Derby is a built-in database. If you want, you can add
Okay.
other database as well. So
Okay.
I'm just deleting all this stuff. So by default, you will get the Derby database. Now, if you want to add any type of database, you can select from here the database driver. If you want to add MySQL, connect this and connect using, you can do. If you want to go with the Oracle, based on the driver, whatever you have, Oracle thin, and then go connect using. So let me show you how to add it. I've got Oracle installed. I'll show you how to connect it with the Oracle. If in case your driver is not listed over here, then you can right click over here, click new driver. Let me first delete this Oracle thing. Now let us add the driver first. Right click new driver. Now you need to specify the driver file. Select this one. Go to the folder location where the driver file is present and add it. Click OK. So all the details it will pull it. Then click OK. So once this is added, you can right click and then say connect using. So you can provide the database ID, the server name, because the client and the server is running on the same machine. You better provide a local host, name of the port where the database is running, and then the database name, username, password. You can select remember password and then test the connection. Connection succeeded, and then click next. Select the schema, whichever you want to connect. I'll select this and then click next, and finally okay, you can click this one. Now once this is done, you can start operating from here. Now what we will do is right click and then create table. So when you're creating the table, what you give is you give the name as marks and then click add column. So first one what you're having is roll number, and then okay, you can select it as integer. Roll number you can set it as the primary key. Click OK. Add column, mm, F name. You can select varchar2. Anyway, data types will vary from database to database. And then XYZ details, whatever you want, okay, you can add it based on your requirements. And this is, let's say, maths. I'll go with integer. Click OK. And one more column let me add. Let us take Java, computer science, and then select integer, and then finally click OK. You are done. Integer not null. What happened? Insufficient. 1 minute. I think we don't have to do this. SQL plus. Connect as DBA. Grant resource 2. What does that mean? Check. Create table. Marks. Hall ticket number is number. And then F name is varchar 2 of 20. And then one subject we kept it as marks. Let me keep it as number. And the other one we kept it as Java. So table has been created. Let us right click and then refresh. What happened? It is reflecting over here. Oh, user is HR over here. Okay, once it is done, what you need to do is you need to connect to the database. Class dot for name. You need to provide the database class and then connection on is equal to. As of now, we are just writing in the servlet. Later on, we will just move this code. With connection, when you're connecting, you require three parameters which we have already discussed. One is URL, username, and the password. So you use a name and hibernate based on your database you need to provide us. I will show you how to get the URL. And then after this, you need to write your statement, prepaid statement is equal to con dot prepaid statement and try to run the statement. Select star from marks where, oh, what does it call a name? Hall ticket.
Uh,
Yeah, any question? Well, hall ticket number is equal to question mark. This question mark has to be substituted by the input provided by the user. Okay, first let us find out what is the class name and then the URL. Again, I go to the services tab, click on properties. So here you will get this database URL. That was the database URL. So you paste it over here. And then okay, you require the class name. Again, you can go to the services tab, click over here, and then click properties. And from here, click on this ellipsis. You will get the driver. So these are the steps what you need to perform. And make sure surround block with try and catch. Don't go with the throws clause. It's not going to work. Add import. Add all the required packages. Add catch clause. Prepared. Add import state.
statement N is missing in last. Yeah, typo.
So this is done. You should not write out .println. You should not write this. Now once this is done, this question mark has to be substituted by the number that is entered by the user, because this one it will always get the data in the form of string format. The return type of the parameter is always string format. So step one is you need to convert that string to the integer st. And O1, let me write it. So you will invoke this integer.parseInt method and pass on the argument. Because the return type is always string and what is expected over here is integer. Hall ticket number, we have taken it as integer. So it has to be converted. Now before you execute the statement, you require this ps.set integer. First question mark, you are setting it to the hall ticket number. Then after you have done this, you need to execute this statement. Because it is a select statement, it is obvious the result set is a it is going to return you a result set. So pst dot execute, and then again you need to import this, add import, So once you have added this import statement, while next. So in this next, you have to retrieve hall ticket number and then the username and then the what you have maths and then the Java. First, let us insert into marks values. Let's say hall ticket number is 100, John, and then some 90 and then some 70. A comment. Now you are done. Now over here, while r is dot next, or else you should not go with while loop. If you go with if, it is enough because hall ticket number is unique. You will not get more than one record. Out dot println. So first, what you have is rs dot get. First is an integer. So what is the column name? What you have? Let me just check it. So if you want to describe this table first, let me change the color. Screen text. Let me take it white. And screen background. Sorry, screen text white. Is not affected. So describe what was that marks. So hall ticket F name match. So we have got hall ticket column name and then I'll use a tab space rs dot get end of F name small case capital case doesn't make any difference.
Name should be string, isn't it?
Yes, correct name it should be string. And then what you have is subject this dot again this is an integer of what is that maths and then the last subject what you have is
Yeah.
let me move this rs dot get end of Java. And then one more stuff what you have to do is this will retrieve all the data and at the end you need to add the driver to the library add jar and then whichever. So let me go to the location where Oracle is installed, Oracle XE app. So JDBC lib this is done. So you need to right click and then select run.
Sorry, what did you do with that Oracle lib file? I did not understand.
You need to
You
add
did some.
because over here you're using those. You're using this all this. So in
Yeah,
order to that is the driver file you have to add it.
add it to the libraries. Okay,
Yes, you need to add this to the library. So in order to add it, right click,
okay.
add jar file.
Right click. Okay, add jar or file.
Jar
Okay,
file, navigate to the location where the jar file is present and then select add. So it will make those
okay,
files available on your class path.
okay.
So I think it started executing. So let me execute over here in the embedded WebKit browser itself. So this one, select right click and then select run. Oh, I forgot what is the number we gave. 100 I guess. Select star from marks. 100. Click and then submit. No output, it means there is some error. So if you have any errors, you can go over here and then check it. Table or view does not exist. Oh, I don't know in which user have created this. Show user. Oh, sorry, this table we have created in sys user. So let us connect as sysdb. Let me change the username. Sys as a password. I don't remember. Tiger, I guess. Alter user sys identify. This is the way you can change the password. I'm changing it to Tiger. So whenever you're connecting as sys, connection has to be as DB, otherwise it does not work. Let us run it one more time. So I'm entering the hall kit number as 100. Oh, again we are unsuccessful. Class with server. So if you have got any errors, this is why you need to check it. This should be a sysdb or sys operator. Again spelling mistake. Sys as sysdb, sys. Let me go to the project and run. Index.html. No output. I have. But are we not ready any output.println? 100 John 1970. That browser is not capable of displaying. So this is the data what you're retrieving from the web database. Is it clear?
Yes.
Hassan, Zahid, is it clear? So how to get the data? Okay. Now let me just copy a template. Login template. If you are good at designing, well and good. If you're not good at designing, then you can make use of available here. Where is the download option for this? So let me download this stuff. Okay, let me check. Oh, let me download. So I've downloaded this, and what you can do is copy all this stuff, and then you can paste it in your. Let's say okay, you're creating the project. Right click new. This is the login module you're creating. Click next, and then you can again click next. As of now, you're not making use of any framework, and so what we do is we just click finish. And then what I do is I go to the projects, click on this login module, and under web pages, place. Oh shit, wait. So let me extract that. So extract, I'm extracting all that, and then I'm just pasting. So it is pasted. Which file is index? Okay, this is the file. So now let me run this. So we have got all this stuff. Log in into your account. Now you need to find out what is the username and the password. And then if you click on login, you should be able to log in into the system. Now how are we going to do? Where was that? There was some registration button. Oh shit, I think I have downloaded some different stuff. I was supposed to download this. Oh, sorry. Okay, you can just download the other stuff and then try it. Let me show you with this. So first find out what is the username for that. So username placeholder it has given. So log in into your account to these two fields. Okay, you give this name is equal to username, and then you can give name as equal to password. Done. The next what you do is you go to the source package as usual. Okay, you have to create a servlet. Now let me name this as login servlet. You'll put it in a package called controller. Why are we putting it in a package called controller? We will learn it in due course of time. Add information to web.xml. And then finally you can click finish. Let me go back to this file and then form. Now when you are clicking, it should go to this login server. Now you go to this, let me close all this stuff. Go to this login servlet. Let me collapse all this code, delete this stuff. I need to change the template. Then let me delete all this stuff. Let us write. Now over here, override do get method. You need to retrieve both the parameters, name and password. String user is equal to request.get parameter. You can just type a part of the letter and then press Control space. Username and then string password is equal to request.get parameter Control space and then type password. I don't remember what I have done exactly. Now next step what you have to do is as usual you need to get connected to the database. What did we write? Username, password, fine. This and this should match. Username and password. The field names should match with this username and then password. Now next, the steps are same. You need to connect to the database. I'll just copy and paste that. Source package, controller, mark servlet. These steps, they are same. So rather than typing it again, let me just copy and paste that. Add all the files, import, import java.sql. I'm importing all the files, but this is not the correct way of doing it. And then you need to add surround block with try and catch. Let me go with this, add catch clause. Now, over here, your SQL statement will be something different. So over here, your SQL statement should be select username or select star from, let's say, login, where username is equal to question mark and password is equal to question mark. That is, you will query the database whether you have got the username and the password. And then again, same. You need to write the result set. Result set rs is equal to prepaid statement dot execute query. If it is valid, if you are getting the rows, if it is valid, this rs dot next will return you true. If it is valid, then you can go with response dot, or you will just print it. Print writer, writer out is equal to response dot get writer out dot println logged in. And the real time when you're doing, you need to redirect this to the home page. That will be doing it for the steps. Otherwise, you will print it
User login failed.
invalid login. Is this clear?
Yeah, yeah. We forgot to set the parameters username.
Which parameters?
The one that we got in the request, we need to set it in PST, right? That one thing missed here.
Which one? These
From
parameters? Oh, yeah.
no. We need to pass the one that we got from the form. We need to set it to the database query.
Yes, correct. So yes, correct. Before we execute this query, the form parameters what we have retrieved, this should be passed to these question marks. This one, username. So you will be using pst dot set string. First parameter is the username, and then second parameter is password. And then we need to create the table as well. Don't create any table since it's schema. Create table. What is that? Login. Username as varchar2 of 20. Based on the business requirement, you have to set this. Password. I think password is a keyword. Varchar2. Okay, fine. Insert into login values. Username. Let me. For testing purpose, we are inserting the values. and give a comment. Only for the John at the rate 123 it will give you valid. For rest it is invalid. And then the last step, what you have to do is we need to add the jar file to the library folder. Add jar file and then OJDBC6 and add. Check it if the file has been added. Yes, it is added. Right click, login module. So it is index plus one underscore one.html. So let us give username as John and password as John. And you will click on login. So we have logged in successfully. And then if you give some invalid stuff, invalid login. This is how you should work on. So whenever you're connecting to the database, okay, this is the set of the code. This will be same, only the queries will vary. Class.name, connection, and then pre-page statement. These three statements it will be same. And whereas the form parameters and the query would be are passing to the pre-page statement will vary from one operation to the another operation. And then obviously based on the results you have to do the processing accordingly. Any questions? Uh, so what I request is you can also do
Hi,
the same.
we'll be learning do post in the coming classes, isn't it?
Yes.
Different. Okay, okay.
Difference between do get and do post, I'll tell you. Over
Okay.
here only I can tell you. Over here, if you see, if you're doing this do get
Yeah,
username, the
I saw
password over
the
here, if you see
parameters are shown.
it is
Yeah,
appended to the URL because
yeah.
password is case sensitive. Sorry, it is sensitive, so you're not supposed to do this. If you are writing John at the rate 123, if you see over here, this is visible in the URL. So this is not
Yeah.
advisable. So if you don't want, if you're sending some sensitive data from the client to the server, what you should always go with the post. So when you're going with the post method to this form, this is the form.
Uh,
This is the form what you have. So
yeah.
to this form, you should action is equal to post.
Oh, we need to mention it. Okay,
Yes, you
specify.
have to
Oh,
mention
default, by
the
default, get is getting called.
yes,
Get
and
is
by
called.
default
Okay.
it is get. So
Uh,
sorry, it is not action, it is method. So method is equal to
method.
post. So if you
Post.
say
Okay.
post over here, as we said, you have got two methods, do get and do post. If it is post, you should override do post. Rest of the logic will be same.
Okay.
So I request you to like we have done it for what is this login, but we did not
Yeah.
do for the registration. So for the registration page, what you can do is over here itself, form is available, I guess. Forgot your password is there. Okay, fine. Over here it is the create an account. So over here you have got create an account 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And then as usual, just find out what are the field names. That is over here. You can go to this Bean IDE, click on this index.html, log in into your form. Another form what you're having is this. So give the field name is equal to username and then so on. And then action is equal to register servlet And then again, method, you should go with the post because you're sending the sensitive data, that is the password. And then you need to create a servlet by name register servlet. Right click onto this. Don't forget this add information in web.xml.
Mm.
Then after you do this, delete all this stuff. Let me collapse this so that I get enough space. And over here, you need to override do post. Now, once you override do post, retrieve all the form parameters. String, username, I'm just writing one, you have to repeat, get parameter of username. Similarly, you have to retrieve rest of the three form parameters. And then let me copy this stuff.
Okay.
So this query again, it will be same. Now, as we have discussed, surround block, add catch clause, request.get parameter. So this query will vary. Now let me write the SQL query. String SQL is equal to insert into, let's say, what is that? Okay, your customer details. That is based on the business object you have to specify. So what all you have got is username, password, and then email, other is what? Phone number, email, comma, phone. So these are the four parameters, values, question mark, question mark, question mark, and then the fourth question. So this is what you have. This you will be passing to this SQL. Either you can type it directly or you can do it this way, your choice. SQL. Then after this, PST dot set string of 1 comma the username what we have retrieved. Similarly, you have to do it for rest of the fields. PST dot set string of 2 comma email and then so on. Then after you have done this, integer count. Now this time you will be calling execute update. Integer count is equal to PST dot execute update. So execute update statement will insert the row into the database. If it is successful, it will return you 1. If count is equal to 1, then you can out.println value inserted successfully. Otherwise, you can redirect the user to the home page. If any errors are there, you can again display them. So you just try to do up to here, and if any errors are there and all, okay, how to display them, that we will discuss it in the next class. But minimum, you try to complete this.
Okay. One more question. I understand, like, if it is a sensitive data that we are sending to the servlet, we are using do post. But in case, let's assume this kind of situation, like, it's not a sensitive information, but I'm passing like 10 fields, which makes the URL as a very lengthy one. Would suppose I'm a developer, and will I make a decision to move to do post instead of doing it in that situation? Just because the parameter list is like, it's like I'm getting 10 different fields from the user.
Now, look, basically we follow this operation. This is called as CRUD operation: create, read, update, and delete. So for create, you will be using post. If you have to insert a record, then you will be using a post. And then get
Okay.
is used only for select statements. And then if you
Select.
have to update the record, then you will be using put. And then delete method we have, then if you have to delete a record, you will be using the delete. You will, okay, if you might
Okay.
have
So
come across a term called CRUD operations, CRUD, CRUD operations. So you should go with the select if and only if it is a select statement get. If you have to just get the data from the database or from the server side, then you should go with the get method. If in case, if you are, if the query that is sent by the server from the client to the server, it is making any operations on the server, then based on the type of operation performed, you have to use the method accordingly. So for insert, you'll use post. For update, you should use put, and for delete, you should use do delete method. This is the standard.
okay, I got it. Creating a resource is post, and
Yes.
updating is put, and retrieving the information is get.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So that's all
Okay.
for the day. Any questions?
No, I will practice. I'll try to practice whatever you have taught for tomorrow morning, and
Just try to practice this. And if you have any
okay.
queries, okay, let me know. I request you to practice this because tomorrow again we will be working on these examples to complete this web application.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Tomorrow evening, same time, 7:30.
Yes. Yeah, same time.
Okay.
Bye bye.